Okay, what's up? I'm Unchrosmatic, and tonight this video review is going to be of the Bandai Showa MechaGodzilla 8-inch. This is the second release of the figure, not the original one that was released in 1984. Here's a tag for it, and I'll get back to the tag in a little bit. But this was actually the very first Bandai I ever bought, and the third Godzilla item I ever bought. The first two being the 6-inch Imperial and the 12-inch Imperial, which I did in my review, or in my previous reviews. And excuse me. And this figure I actually got for $25 at a store downtown. And as soon as I saw him, I was told by the store proprietor about the whole history of Bandai making toys, etc. And at that exact moment is when I made the future and ongoing decision to redirect a large amount of money to buying Godzilla collectibles. But anyway, let's forget about that for a second and let's take a look at the figure here. I know if you have the original 1984 release, this figure, which was released in 1989, I believe, is a little bit smaller actually. Apparently the mold of the original was destroyed, so they had to make a new mold, and in the process of making a new mold, the figure was actually inadvertently resized down. But this figure is great. It captures the metallic sheen of the titanium space alloy, or whatever MechaGodzilla is supposed to be comprised of. You know, nice detailing in the back with the fins here, or the metallic fins. There's the black highlighting and detail application for a shadow effect, and also for kind of a dirty air intake, outtake type of effect. There's a nice detail here at the end of his tail, which is meant to be the exhaust for when MechaGodzilla flies. Overall, it's a really nice representation of MechaGodzilla. You know, again, the black detailing and the nice hands over here, which I don't have a 6-inch Showa MechaGodzilla figure with me available right now. He's in the 2005 Memorial box, which is somewhere in my closet, and I didn't take him out. But I wasn't sure if in the 6-inch figures they had made the adjustment of his hands being able to rotate, because that's one aspect of this figure that would have been fantastic and would have added it 100% better, is if they gave his hand the ability to rotate, just like it did in the movie, or in the movies where he did, you know, he kind of shot up his arm like this and then rotated his hand and fired off a barrage of missiles. But, you know, that being said, that a lot of the figures of MechaGodzilla over the years, from a pure toy standpoint, one of his absolute strengths is that he probably has the most articulation out of any other Godzilla character, just by virtue of his being, because, you know, intrinsically he's a mechanical construct. So you've got articulation here in the legs, of course. The tail, unfortunately, doesn't rotate, but the arms do. The head, obviously, quite easily relative to other Godzilla figures. Mainly speaking of King Ghidorah, I can't really recall anyone that can have a rotating neck. Maybe some of the Heisei figures, I can't remember exactly. But one of the things that's really nice touch is his torso can rotate, and you can, in fact, if Bandai had ever did make an 8-inch Titanosaurus and 75 Godzilla, you could actually kind of reenact the scenes where, you know, MechaGodzilla stands like this, but his head is facing the other way. I think so. I think that's what the scene was. I haven't seen the movie in a while. That's kind of a unfortunate thing, but I should have seen it before this review. But and anyway, you know, he kind of has. He stands here, and then he's got Titanosaurus, or excuse me, not Titanosaurus, he's got King Caesar on one end, and he's got a 74 Godzilla on the other end. And actually I do have King Caesar, but he's away right now. So when I review him, I'll bring this guy back out. But you know, you can kind of reenact that scene where MechaGodzilla is facing off against two foes, but his versatility comes into play by being able to rotate his entire torso, his head, you know, his hands, and missiles are flying everywhere, and what have you. Here's a nice detail here. We'll see if it captures on the camera. Yeah, I'm a little blurry. It doesn't autofocus because I'm holding the MechaGodzilla. I don't know if you could see in his arm, but you know, there's that nice MG emblem that he's got on his right arm, which is a really nice touch. Otherwise, you wouldn't ordinarily see it just by looking at the figure from the front. So we'll rotate him again, swivel his head back and out of frame for a little bit, and going back to the tag. The tag is a really nice illustration. It's a scene from Destroy All Monsters. I guess it's a promotional still. You'll have to excuse the cut there on my hand. That's just been zoomed into a little bit, but the scene is particularly effective, I thought, because I actually bought this figure when I was young, maybe about 8 or 9 or 10 years old. I can't remember when, but as a kid, I saw this scene and I thought, well, if Bandai put all these characters in a scene, then that means they must have toys for them. And you know, at that point, I already like King Ghidorah was already a huge favorite of mine, so I already was on the hunt for a Showa King Ghidorah figure, which I never actually got until many years later, over 15 years later from that point. But very nice promotional artwork. The only figure, or actually the only figures that were actually produced by Bandai in the 8-inch scale are actually 6 out of the 9 that are in this picture. Those being the ones that they did produce, being Rodan, King Ghidorah, Anguirus, Minya, Godzilla, and Baragon. And those that they didn't produce in the 8-inch scale, Manda, Varan, and Kamunga. And it's kind of fortunate for me because I have arachnophobia and I wouldn't have bought him anyway, even if he were. But that's besides the point. Again, the gold sticker here in the corner, and in the reverse, more Japanese blurb, and at the bottom you have katakana for MechaGodzilla at the bottom. So, all in all, nice figure, and eventually I hope to hunt down the original release. The paint application looks to be different, and of course it's a little bit bigger in size, but in terms of a Bandai 8-inch issue, the MechaGodzilla is a pretty good figure to have, and I recommend him if you don't have him in your collection, and if you do, I'm sure he is one of your favorite figures in the Bandai line.